Welcome back, troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. I never thought I would see anybody attempt this, but I couldn't help but smile when I saw it. Take a look at this thing. And now take a look at this. Look kind of similar and familiar? I would guess so. But what if I told you these guitars were made about 45 years plus apart? Okay, so this right here is the Imposter, but let's go ahead and take a look at it real quick. You've got a front-mounted pickguard right here with 3 single coil pickups with a regular style toggle switch on the front. 4 different controls right here. I'm not sure if they decided to do a master tone with 3 individual volumes or what's going on here, but we've got some sort of a vibrola here. But what made me smile is they actually did like the 62 style SG ebony block. Now this one, I don't think it's actually ebony. It looks kind of more like a flamed or quilted maple that's been stained to me. So that's kind of an interesting take on a vintage idea here. And we've got this really nice, bright, sparkling burgundy-esque finish, which is something that the original 60s melody makers might have had at one point in time. But here we can see a Nashville-style bridge, and we've got dot inlays on this thing. But then when we get to the headstock, it's Decal City here. This isn't like mother of pearl Gibson logos. And it reads Custom Shop Melody Maker 3. Okay, so at one point in time, did Gibson actually produce a custom shop version of this guitar? I mean, this doesn't look like a custom shop guitar, but it does have custom attributes. I mean, there's no binding on the neck or anything like that. But this thing looks pretty good, but this one was made in 2014. Whereas original late 60s Melody Maker 3 would look kind of similar to this. You can find them in multiple different colors. These are actually quite nice guitars. But one characteristic mark about these guys is the neck is always left in a natural finish. I personally really like the Pelham Blue ones, and if you love that look as much as I do, if you check out the Jeff Tweedy signature SG, he actually paid homage to that. So these things pay off the Pelham Blue color, but then you get to the back of the neck and it's natural. Here's a good photo that shows that off. But another difference on these vintage ones is the pickup selector wasn't a toggle switch. It was actually a switch within the guitar. They're not the most reliable, but a lot of them did indeed have these vibrola units, just not the fancy ebony block version. And these original style ones also had the Melody Maker style headstock, very slim. So someone's attempt to convert a modern day Gibson SG into one of these is actually quite ingenious. I love the fact that they did this, because they did a cracking job. I literally thought this was like a vintage original, just in really good condition by the photos, and then I read the title where it says Melody Maker 3 Tribute Custom Shop. It's like, oh, did Gibson do this? But no, then I read this, Gibson SGJ. Oh. And then I noticed the inlay. Oh, okay, yep, that is a true 2014 model here. So luckily enough, I've actually reviewed an SGJ if you want to check it out. It started life looking like this, believe it or not. Now keep in mind, this one had alternate pickups, but these things have the goofiest looking Gibson logos ever. So I could see why this might have been a candidate for somebody to convert. For example, some of them would actually have the black covered pickups, where some of the other ones actually had zebra pickups. But anyways, how do you go from this to this? Obviously, it took quite a bit of work. So they would have had to have patched the holes for the stop bar tailpiece, patch that up right here too, and then actually route the guitar for some control channels underneath where the pickguard will be. Stock from the factory, this didn't have any type of pickguard at all. Now realistically, it could be as simple as just routing a little bit out right here and then doing like a swimming pool route right here just to wire all that through the cavities. But then after that, they had to get the custom pickguard to put on here, then install the vibrola unit, and then get the ebony block-like looking thing. So it's quite the drastic change from this to this, and it really comes into play with how they did the finish. Now hopefully over the years there's not witness lines showing of where other things got covered up underneath the paint, like the stop bar tailpiece holes down here. And it looks like they put really nice lace sensor pickups in this thing, so it probably sounds halfway decent. But if they were going to go this far, I feel they should have shaved the headstock down a little bit more, just to give it that vintage look to it and kind of cut down on some of these other decals that you don't necessarily need. But at the same time, they're trying to make it a soup up custom shop model. And it would have been nice to get rid of the anniversary inlay, but at the same time, what are you really gonna do? I mean, you could install giant block inlays on this to make that look a little bit more uniform, but then you run into the problem of these originally had dots anyways. And you also got the problem that these are 24 fret SGs, which the originals were only 22, so you gotta take some artistic liberties on this thing. So absolutely awesome, fantastic job on this conversion, whoever did this, because they also gave it a 90s Gibson USA case, which those things are pretty nice, so it works well. And it appears it was Trademark Classics who did this work. And apparently they made 2 of these things. So all in all, this is a really cool guitar. The only thing offensive is the price that they put on this thing, $4,000. I mean, I get it. They probably poured a lot of time and effort into this. But at the end of the day, even if you're paying crazy prices for an SGJ, you're not going to pay more than $900. So to find somebody willing to pay $3,000 to create a replica of a 60s model that doesn't really cost much more than $2,000 to $3,000 to buy in all original excellent condition, if you're really looking for one of those in that sparkling burgundy finish, which might take a while. I just don't see who this is really marketed toward, because a vintage mint condition original would be a better value even if you paid $4,000 for it. So why would you want this modern piece together version? But generally speaking, when you pour modification money into a guitar, you're never going to see that back. But I do think this turned out well, so I personally say it's worth more than an original SGJ, but some people might disagree with me on that. But reading further in our description here, it looks like they decided to use a unique Gibson push-pull pot harness for the center pickup, which I guess you can probably take in and out of the circuit to kind of control with all the other stuff. And you also have to remember this case is worth a good amount of money. Probably between $200 to $300 of this price as well. But he says he is open to offers, but don't be ridiculous. I mean, I hate to offend the guy, but it's hard to not be ridiculous when the price itself is ridiculous. Unfortunately, guitars are not like cars. You can't really make a business of customizing them and selling them. If you want to make a business where you rework guitars, your best bet is getting people to bring a guitar to you so you can customize it to their liking. That's where the money's at on these types of repairs and restorations. Because from a resale standpoint, it just doesn't make sense. Continuing on our guitar hunting journey today, we get a Gibson Les Paul in a tobacco sunburst finish. You don't see that too often. Generally, you find the pure walnut versions, but what made this one so special is not necessarily the color, but take a look at the way this thing is aged. That is crazy. So much finish checking. Unfortunately, the clear coat's starting to chip off. At least you can still see the color underneath that though, so you could technically just overspray this, but the way that's yellowed, the way it's checked and worn, this is a great looking relict piece. Now, it appears they didn't want a volume control right here, so they capped that off. Looks like a non-original pickup in the bridge. At least somebody's actually swapped out the bridge itself with a metric style. It's either that or it's Tone Pros. They have something very similar to them. But they left the toggle switch in the regular location. That's kind of interesting. I would think if somebody's going to get rid of that, they would just put that right there. Now, normally checking and flaking like this means moisture damage, so this might not be the good kind of aging, but it does look pretty cool. It's kind of got a caked on glue vibe to it too. And these are old school strap locks, so you know this thing's definitely seen some action over the years. And it's worn like this pretty much all over the guitar. You can also see where a pick guard was added to this particular one. I'd be worried if this still feels smooth to play, because sometimes the flaking finish will kind of feel a bit rough. And somebody went as far as putting Grover Imperial tuners on this. That's kind of overkill. Normally, you only see those on like high-end arch tops. Oh, I guess these ones are actually Wilkinson branded, and this one's installed a bit crooked, but originally this would have had a Kluson style, apparently, judging by the imprints that are left here. This is a pretty late Les Paul. In 1984, kind of to sell out the ending stock of them, they started to put exotic finishes on them. But how was our price on this one? $1,200. It's hard to say anymore. The market is definitely up on these Les Pauls. The secret is out. Gone are the days you can get all original ones with original case for $700, and I'm sad. But he is saying the neck pickup is original, so that should be a Tim Shaw PAF since it was made in '84. However, those screws look awfully large to me, so it's possible those have at least been replaced. You don't see one of these things every day. Firebird II, aka the Artist Curly Maple Top CMT. So these things are kind of freaky because, yeah, I mean, look at that headstock. Sometimes you can find prototype versions of these with like the Victory neck on them. A complete maple body, 3-piece maple neck. These things are usually pretty heavy. I really like that neck. They did a good job on that. But unfortunately, I'm not interested in this one because somebody's swapped out that bridge pickup. But these guitars are strictly collector instruments in my opinion. And hey, did you guys know that there's a different type of Gibson Firebird? These things never get talked about. I'm not sure why. I mean, you get this little Firebird here that's just taking over the entire pick guard. Kind of looks like a dove that was caught on fire for the bridge. Inlaid Firebird right there. Some other mother of pearl and abalone inlay. The inlays themselves are just, they kind of look like crowns, but I think they're going for flames. And then it kind of takes after the dove in the fact that we get the maple back and sides. Alright, troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.